Yeah, let's call to order.
Great. Calling to order the regular meeting of the Brattleboro Housing Partnerships, being held on Zoom today, February 24th, 2025. And Susie Walker, Christine Hazard, and Michelle Wright are here. We'll look at the minutes later. And there are no residents or citizens on the call, so there's no participation this time. And so we move to staff reports. We have the executive director report.
Sure. So a couple of things to make. A big thing that I focused on in the report was just explaining a little bit about um, just federal funding. So I wanted to make sure that the board knew that while right now there's a lot of ambiguity around federal funding, specifically the Section 8 program and some of the grant funds that we receive through HUD, just wanted to assure the board that that I really am trying to keep up to date as much as humanly possible. I get that information from three different resources. One is called the Public and Indian Housing PIH alerts, which I get every day, pretty much, sometimes twice a day, and they give a lot of valuable information about what's going on with public housing. I also get the regular HUD updates on a regular basis, as well as I keep up to date with anything coming out of the other housing authorities, specifically Vermont State Housing Authority. So one piece of information I think that's helpful for the board to know is right now several of our federal fundings is under review. And so that includes our Section 8 program, which funds all the vouchers that we have in our housing and also in the public and in the housing choice voucher program. It also the Family Self-Sufficiency Program, which oversees our LEAP program, that's under review. The Ross grant is under review, the capital fund, and our continuum of care, which funds our shelter bus care. So basically, all of our programs are under review. But I'm feeling hopeful that we will continue to be funded as we've been funding. However, there was a reduction that we knew of prior. It came out in December. That was really that is in the the budget, the House and Senate budget, proposed Senate budget for 2025, and that is a reduction of the Section 8 program. So it could be reduced to 90. Hold on, let me find it where I'm looking at it. It could either be reduced to 93%. No, 97.5%, with then the admin fees being reduced to 93.3%, or it could be reduced to 88.59%, but with the admin fees at 100%. So so basically, it means that our Section 8 program will be reduced. While that's not great news because we want to be able to expand our program and we're always looking for ways to expand, we're not in a bad position right now in the sense that we do have some money in reserves, and we have been able to utilize all of our vouchers right now. And so right now we don't have to take anyone off the program. We don't need to decrease the fair market rents that we approved. We just need to, we probably won't be able to lease up anybody with a new voucher for some time until we know what the HUD decision is. Um, Other than that, I've been working on, I know we talked a lot around safety. So we've had a little bit of a hard time. I've had a hard time, I should say, really getting people motivated to be on a safety committee, whether that's residents or staff. And so I started to just look at safety in three different areas: property safety, staff safety, and community safety. And so the work that I've been doing with the One Brattleboro group, I feel like is a really good example of working on community safety initiatives. I've also been partnering with Wyndham Windsor Housing Trust and M&S Housing to to work on potentially supporting Ian Goodnow and drafting some legislation around trespass on our properties. Um, that may, the more we work on it, the more we realize that it might be something that needs to get shelved for next year because it's just, we're just finding a lot of the nuances, but I feel like we're at least going in the direction of really looking at this issue and coming up with some strategies around how to go forward, but also identifying like what, we don't want to hurt tenant rights either when we do this. So we have to do it really thoughtfully. But I'm really excited to be working with in that direction. We're also currently, we have Sheriff Mark Anderson will be coming in and doing an all-staff training around safety. The staff will be divided in two, and then we'll do a training, 2 hour training for each group. And then we'll have lunch afterwards with the hope that things will come out of that, concerns and potentially ideas of like how to make the offices and the properties a little safer. And then when I gave you a copy of the survey, which will be going out to residents in April, and in the draft that you have, it doesn't have this question, but um, we've added an additional question around safety, some additional questions which I can go over with you in a bit. So I'm hoping that will glean some information as well, and then we will be able to come up with a plan for how we want to go forward with those things. So James is also working on our budget. So I've met with him and we're working on the budget for next year. And that will also include some potential safety measures and things that we want to do on the properties. So that was my report in a nutshell.
Thank you. Questions? No. Program data review.
Okay, great. So Michelle Wright, our board vice chair, was nice enough to support me in coming up with some ways of measuring our programs, and I actually can like pull them up potentially because I know that we weren't able to see Susie's not able to see them. Do you think that would be helpful?
Sure.
Okay. All right. So can you see this okay? It's probably
Yep, there we
small.
go.
Okay. So, I'm sorry, Michelle and I had worked on a couple of things. We had identified areas that we wanted to start gleaning some data from, and then Michelle was nice enough to help me to figure out how to do that. So we started with this is our first graph, which is just around resident satisfaction. So we're looking at complaints that we receive for all of our properties and each month, and then looking at the number of actionable complaints. So what that means is like eliminating like if we get like if somebody submits the same complaint twice, right? Or if it's something that just like we can't do anything about, um just identifying how many we actually have. So an example of something like we can't do anything about would be um I don't like the way my neighbor looks at me when I get out of the elevator. Well, I can't do anything about that. So that wouldn't be an actionable complaint. But an actionable complaint might be my neighbor's smoking all the time and I can smell it in my bathroom when they smoke. So then we can definitely take an action for that. So we didn't begin tracking until January. So if you look at December, there's just zeros. We just left them there. But for January, we received 31 complaints and 19 of them were actionable. And then in February, we received 17 and 13 were actionable. So that's so far as of when we got this data. So next month, that will be updated and then we'll have a potential for some of March. Section 8, also we ended up not we should ignore the first two data sets. The third one is the first one we really have, which is we have 39 project-based vouchers being used. We have um, 98 housing choice vouchers. Let me see what this one was. These are for people that are searching with a housing choice voucher. We have 15 vouchers being used for the Shelter Plus Care program and 9 that are searching with the voucher. Um, any questions so far? Okay. Then we have our lease ups. So this just shows the number of lease ups this month. So 0 in A.W. Richards, and then if you go over to vacancies for A.W. Richards, we have currently 4. Um, Lease ups for RCC1 in January we had 2, in February we have 1. We have currently a 6 total vacancies as of the end of as of right now in February. In RCC2, we have 0 lease ups, we have 0 vacancies. And then for the RAD properties, we had 1 lease up as of February 1st, and we have 10 vacancies total. And then at the end, it just says the number of households that were coming from homelessness. And then the total number of households coming from homelessness or risk of homelessness. I'm trying to think. Let me move this out. I had to move these in. Um, I think this is like the total is this the total for the year, Michelle? I can't remember.
Number of new and number, we should
Of
clarify that, yeah.
total number. Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
seeing,
do that
I'm
just
seeing a couple things that maybe we want to move.
okay.
I'm thinking of we can move the property so that they're the same on both graphs so that you can,
Yeah.
it's not so hard to follow.
Yeah.
That
Okay.
would be good.
All right. Then legal, we have number of households in termination for cause as of December 1st, 1, January 2, and then February 1. New notices for termination of cause, we had only 1 in January, 0 in February. Um, and then total current notices pending for cause, 1 in December, 4 in January, and 5 in February. So hopefully these numbers will get, potentially like, hopefully they'll end up not, hopefully we'll end up not going forward, depending on what the situation is. Some things we might not have a choice for, but that's just the current situation. And then number of those in termination for non-payment. We have 6 total right now. New notices, we did not have any. We only had 2. We had 2 notices in January, 0 so far in February, and total current notices pending for non-payment, 10 total in January and 6 total in February. Number of evictions, we had 1 in December, 1 in January, and 0 in February.
Can I ask a question about the
Yeah.
first column?
Yeah.
Households in termination. Could they be like the 2 in January? Does that include 1 from December? Like how long does that take? Do they carry over month to month sometimes?
I think they will be carrying over month to month.
Okay, thanks.
And then actually we have information, we have this information too, but I don't know if you noticed, Michelle, but like they put in their own data, which was great.
Yeah,
So I think
yeah.
that was good too. So like we might not need to be tracking these in the same way, but so basically this was for the LEAP program. And that was number of participants and then income increase or decrease. So that will be tracked every month. Um, so this is like the total amount that was increased for that month. And then for SASH for all, it was really around participation. So number of participants and then number of programs. So in January, we had 42 participants and then we had 5 programs. So number 42, that's like the main person, that's like the head of household that signed up. That's not all the family members. So we don't count them as full participants, even though they're part of the family. So we don't count children. We just count like the parents that are fully enrolled in the program. And then for SASH, we had 153 in January and then 20 programs. So I'm going to stop sharing for a second. So now if you look at this is all total of LEAP participants. This is income for the month. So if you looked at the total amount of income that they are all, if you combine all of their income, this is the total amount of income for residents for each month. So you'll see that it's pretty much stable at this point. Um, but I think you can see from the beginning of time how it's increased. And that was sort of our goal with this was that by allowing people to increase their income without having to um, recertify for their rent, that we would potentially see more people earning more money. And I think that's the case. Um, this is, hold on a second. Just want to. So if you look at this is activity at each property. So um, for A.W. Richards, we had two programs related to chronic conditions, social isolation. At the Canal House, which is our program in Bellows Falls, there were 13 programs related to um, or 13 activities related to chronic conditions or physical health. Hayes Court, there was two blood pressure clinics. There was a chronic food insecurity program. That's probably the food bank. Then there were four chronic condition social isolation. So that could be anything from bingo to like a fun activity. Um, at Ledgewood, we had three activities around food insecurity. At Moore Court, we had one activity around food insecurity. Red Clover Commons, which we tend to have a lot of different types of programs. We had blood pressure clinic. We also had chronic condition physical health. I think we have bone builders there, and we also have Tai Chi. We had chronic conditions for social isolation, and then food insecurity. We had two programs. And then SCA, six programs for social isolation, which I think is a real need there, and then one each of blood pressure and the food insecurity.
Right. That's really great.
And if I can here we go. Um, and then this is enrollment number by program. So if you really look at this, you can see this breaks it down a little bit better than what we had in the other graph, which is Bellows Falls. We have 23 participants. It's only a half panel there. It's a half SASH panel. And then Red Clover Commons Community Panel, we have 45 fully enrolled participants. And then at Hayes Court, 46. Similarly at 39. 42 at Ledgewood. And the LEAP program has 96 now, and then 31 of the Ross program. So some of these people might be in the same multiple programs. Like for instance, I'm guessing for the Ross program, probably every one of those is either in SASH or LEAP as well. So it's a lot of data now.
Yeah, that's so great.
Yeah. Any questions?
No, this is just wonderful though, to be able to see how the programs are being used and how things are spread out over the different areas.
Yeah.
It
And I
took a
think,
lot of work, so thank you.
yeah, thank you, Michelle. And I think like this might be a good way of sharing it at meetings, not only getting in your board packets, but if we're doing it over Zoom, we could pull it up, or if we're doing a presentation at a site, we could pull it up, which would be good, I think, to share with residents.
Okay, so moving to occupancy director report. Oh, that's the green one. property management report.
Yep. So with that, as we went over, she's just talking about some of the vacancies. Just so to give you a heads up, we do have, we had a lease up for Red Clover Commons. We have another lease up for March 1st. We have a lease up for our 2 bedroom all set for April 1st, and we have one more potentially for April 1st. So if we get those and we don't have anyone else leave, we will be at 3 to 4 vacancies left, which is the lowest we've been in a long time.
Oh, great.
And then in terms of rent collection, we're seeing some improvements at Moore Court has gone up tremendously, which is great. We're up to 83%. And Ledgewood Heights is still really not in a good place. It's still pretty low, but it could be that we just have, I think the majority is we have some big balances. And the property managers have really started, so before the pandemic, we were really good about sending notices right away, like when people were late on their rent. But after that, it was so hard to be given like VRAP and all the other programs. It like everything kind of unraveled in a lot of ways. So they have started that again, and we've gotten a little bit, residents are a little bit upset that they got this letter, like, you know, why are you sending me this letter when I'm only 15 days late? I always pay my rent, and people are upset. But in reality, it's not to like give people a hard time. It's really just to like, sometimes people aren't aware. Like maybe their check got lost in the mail. The mail is weird, right, Susie? I mean, we know that, right, from the board. Like the mail is weird right now sometimes, and like things get lost, or like maybe, there was an error. Like, how do we fix that? Like, if we don't let people know, then when it becomes a bigger problem, then people are even more upset. So I think that people will get used to it, but we did definitely get a lot of like, how dare you tell me that I owe rent? I always pay rent on time, or don't you know you have to fix all these things? Why are you asking me for rent? That type of a thing. But I think over time people will settle out, and I think it will be fine. And I think it's important for them to have it. I think overall it's better, and that's what I keep trying to tell residents. Like, I understand you're frustrated, I know you're upset, but at the same time, it's really good for us to have this, to be on top of this in this way. It'll help you in the long run.
I think that's wise. And the resident services newsletters and calendars all are so cheery and good. The financial review. We have the check listings. And the monthly comparable. I didn't have any questions.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing to be aware of is that we've had a tremendous amount of snow this year. We're gonna see really high snow costs. There's really not that much we can do about it. It's like just is what it is, unfortunately. We can evaluate at the end and say, do we want to continue to go in this direction? But we just had a lot of snow, and we've had a lot of ice. We've just had a lot of weather events since the winter has started. And so I think that we'll see where we land at the end. But there's not a lot of cutting back in that area. There's only so much we can do.
Can you still hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Check assignments. See, March we have Commissioner Underwood, April Commissioner Green, May.
I think we could just keep it. We'll just decide at the next meeting. That's okay.
Decide later. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on to special projects. The Melrose redevelopment.
So I just gave a brief update of where we're at. So we have, so a big part of our funding is being able to receive historic tax credits. In order to get historic tax credits, we have to qualify. So part one of our application has been approved, which is really, really good note, really good news. That was a huge hurdle that we needed to get through. So the next part, part two and part three will be happening concurrently, and hopefully we'll get through that. And then once, if we qualify, then they're non-competitive tax credits. So we'll be all set with that piece. But that is really critical for this project. If we don't qualify for that, then we have to reevaluate how we want to go forward. And then we also are applying for non-competitive 4% tax credits through Vermont's Housing Finance Agency. They came down and they did a site visit, and we've put in the pre-application. So we're going, in the right direction there. The full application is due in April. We met last week. Michelle met with us as well. And last week, yeah, the week before, I can't even remember at this point, but yes, I think we're meeting this week. So it was almost 2 weeks ago. So, uh, we're just getting all the pieces together. Dan is doing the majority of the work, and he's just asking me for things, and I'm sending them as I get them. And then they have done the site topography work, and existing conditions assessments have been drafted, and the preliminary site improvements are also being drafted, and they're moving forward with the next schematic designs. So the next step will be a release for proposals for an attorney specializing in tax credit and having knowledge of public housing conversion to tax credit. So we'll be drafting that up and then putting that out, and I'll have to put that in front of the board.
That's great. I think we talked already about safety. Was there anything else to say about that?
About the survey?
Well, and then the surveys after that.
Okay. Oh yeah, safety. I'm sorry. Yeah, that was basically everything I told you earlier was basically where we're at with the safety. Sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's good. Seems like the next step.
Yeah, I feel like it's hard to just ask people, like, what do you want to, like it's hard to do that without having those foundational pieces. And I talked about it a little bit with Alicia because I was feeling like, I don't know, I just feel like I'm not getting anywhere. And she was like, I think doing a survey and getting that information and then training the staff and then getting more information and then, that's all you can do. Like it's hard to just create it from nothing. And so I think those are hopefully the right steps.
I love the survey idea. Have you done a survey before?
We have done a survey before right before we did the last strategic plan, but it was different from this. This is much more in depth. And before that, we haven't done a survey in a really long time. So this one I feel like is really, really, it's actually, I think it's going to be really good.
Yeah.
Um, Evernorth, Lindsay, who works at Evernorth, she like specializes in, I don't know, she does a lot of surveys and data analysis and different, and so she really, she had worked on this with me, and she basically like we went through it, and like I try to give her the questions, but then she kind of put it all together or framed it in a way that was easier to understand. And so people will be able to do it on their computer or on their phone, or they'll be able to do it written. And I think what our plan is to have like um, support staff have like events where they have like food and different events so that people can like go and like fill out the surveys or do it online with them. And we wanted to, I don't know if it's going to be possible to give everybody who, I think what we would love to do is give everybody who submits it like something, whether it's like $20, but I don't think we can do that based on our budget. But we would definitely will do like raffles for it, and everybody, yeah. So I think that will help. We actually, I mean, it was during the pandemic. So it just seemed like we got a lot of responses the last time we did a survey, like way more than I had ever seen. So I'm hopeful. I feel like people have a lot of opinions right now. People want to be engaged. People want to share their opinion. I think if we if we get this information out to people and people know how to do it, I think we'll get a lot of surveys back. So
Great. Then,
the one question we added to the survey is, hold up, sorry. Um, it is, what changes would make you feel safer? And then people can identify all or none, or but we put in better lighting outside, better lighting inside my building, more security cameras, more opportunities to meet with the police department, Narcan training, training on public safety resources available in the community, a deadbolt on your apartment. This would be for only a few housing sites because some housing sites have deadbolts on their apartment. We were also adding for one question for Hayes Court because the Hayes Court buildings are 8 apartments in each building, and they they don't have an exterior lock on the exterior doors. We did this intentionally. We had locks, and then people were locking themselves out a lot, and like people were getting stuck outside. And so we had taken the locks off, but now we're putting them back on. And so we're going to be doing a lot of education around that with residents, like what to do if you get locked out, and and it's a little bit tricky. So we wanted to really hear from people like what they want to do, like what would make them feel safer.
great. I think it's so important to get their voice.
Yeah.
I was glad to hear that you had a high response rate. The times I've done surveys, there's been you set a target for your collection rate.
Yeah.
So if you need to push more or if you're happy with the response. And I mean, 40%, for at least, with a hospital, like a 40% response rate is excellent. So
Yeah. If we can get 40%, I would be really, really, really excited. I would be happy with like 20%, but I mean, 40% would be great. So I think that's a good target to have and go from there. And if we're not getting the results we need, then really figuring out other ways to push it.
great. Any other board business?
The only thing I would say is if you wanted to just quickly go into executive session, I know we won't be able to make a decision when we come out, but maybe
Mhm.
I would like to at least share that. So we would be we can't make a motion to go into executive session because we don't have a
Right.
right.
Well, we do a BOHI update actually before we do
Okay.
that.
Okay.
And then, yeah, I guess we will have to do it by email.
Okay. Sounds good. BHOI update is really more of just the same. So we've been working on the bylaws. They actually skipped their meeting this month because we were supposed to meet last week because we were still in the process of drafting and reviewing the bylaws, and they wanted to do that. Like they wanted to get an initial draft before we met again. So we decided to skip it until next month. That's it. I guess we can adjourn unless you have anything else.
Nope.
So I'll let you all know that I am going to be sending an email out. I'll do that tonight because I'd like to get that done. And then if the board agrees to that, we will tentatively approve the personnel decision, and then we'll just have to vote on it in executive session at the next meeting. I also got a really good idea from someone today that said we should always put potential executive session at the end of every meeting
Yeah.
on the and then we don't have to do it, but like if we wanted to, we could always have that as an option on the agenda. So I will be doing that going forward.
Yeah. Good idea.
Yeah. I don't know why I haven't thought of it. Somebody else brought it. I was like, that's really genius. I guess the select board does that. So yeah, that's a good idea. But
Well,
thank you
thanks.
both for attending.
Well, thanks for all the detailed reports that I always learn so much from all, especially this time with the data. That was really
Yeah.
interesting for me.
Well, I will send you a copy I'll put a
Oh,
copy in
thank
the
you.
mail today, Susie.
I'll see if I can. I know I looked at it would have been the week where there was a lot of bad weather. And if the postman couldn't get up to the porch, maybe did something different with some of my,
Yeah,
I don't
it
know.
probably would have come. Yeah, it probably would have come on like the 18th or 19th. So we had a lot of bad weather in
Mhm.
general around that
Yeah,
time.
yeah. Who
Yeah.
knows where it ended up?
Yeah, a package of mine just completely got lost. I don't know where
Oh,
it went. They just can't find it. So
mm.
it's just totally lost. It never got delivered, but they still don't know where it is. So it
Oh,
happens.
well, yeah, it
Yep.
happens.
Yep.
All right. Well,
All
thank you
right.
both.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Great
Okay.
work.
Thank you.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay,
Yep.
Bye.
Thanks.
bye.
Bye.